How you doing?
Greg Peterson, president, helped cooperate in putting the security and justice program with the institution. Now, Robert H. Jackson was a Supreme Court justice and was the chief prosecutor of the Nuremberg trials. I'm going to give you a little footnote in my life. He changed the course of my life unwittingly when I was in college, and here's what happened. This is a little anecdote that very few people know, but I told Mr. Peterson and he thought it might be of interest to you. By the way, the center is one of the great attractions of the area. There's going to be a bus trip made this week to see the center, and it's very worthwhile if you have the time. Try and get it into your schedule. When I was a senior at Columbia College, I decided I wanted to go into journalism. I applied to Columbia Journalism and to a school on the other side of the country, Stanford University. They had another journalism school. And this was 1951. Unbeknownst to me, Robert H. Jackson gave a speech at Stanford, and when they gave him his honorarium, he was then Supreme Court Justice, he gave it back to them. He says, I want you to establish a fellowship at the journalism school for New York State residents. Okay, now I apply to Columbia and Stanford. And Stanford, I applied kind of right on the borderline, and the dean sent me my letter back and said that my application said that it arrived too late. What happened was there was a mail strike, and that was the problem. So I wrote him a letter back and told him, as courteously as I could, I don't think he was being fair because this was beyond my control. I just wrote the letter thinking nothing would happen. But what happened was he wrote me back and said, well, he says, you have a point. We just have a new fellowship that's been established for New York State residents, the Robert H. Jackson Fellowship, and I'm going to give it to you. The next day I got an acceptance from Columbia Journalism. So I had to make a decision. Do I go to Columbia Journalism and pay for it? The school has a reputation already. Or do I go to a rather unknown, Stanford of course was nationally known, but the journalism school wasn't, in Stanford, and take this fellowship? And I just slept on this decision for about a week. Now what happened was, wherever I went, it changed the course of my life, because I know that if I went to Stanford, I was going into the Navy after this, during the Korean War. I had to go into the Navy after that 1 year. And I would have gone to the West Coast, San Diego, and would have been in the Pacific Fleet, probably would have grown up in California. If I went to Columbia, it would have been the reverse. I would have gone to Newport, Rhode Island, Norfolk, Virginia, and that would have been the course of my life. It turned out that I decided to go to Columbia because I thought it had a reputation. It was a leading school at the time, and I'd been at the school for years already. And it turned out that when I was in Norfolk, I went into the Navy, went to Norfolk and so forth, I met a school teacher from South Carolina whom I married, Sarah Walkman, and she's sitting in the theater today. So I'm saying this was like going to a crossroad, two ways, and it changed the course of my life to the better, I think.